Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Today, we're starting our third brand new original story here on the channel. That being My Hero Academia Vows of Vengeance. What if Deku was a monster? This will be a crossover between My Hero Academia and the anime known as Gleipnir. Now, Gleipnir, I would say, is a known anime. It came out in 2020, but it hasn't been too well known. But it was one that I personally enjoyed during the height of the pandemic, if you will. And seeing as how it's a series that hasn't been used very much on YouTube, I decided to give it a chance. Again, one thing I've wanted to do with my channel and my storytelling compared to most others is I want to take a chance on series that don't get used very much. Not that they don't have a following or that people don't like them, but I do feel as though if we do the same old, then after a while, you just run the risk of being repetitive and not doing anything that's new or stands out. And with this series, I feel like we have a chance to do so. Now, while I will be keeping some core story beats to keep the story relatively new, I am going to be making some changes with the lore of Gleipnir along with the lore of My Hero Academia, since this is a crossover for obvious reasons. So if you wonder why certain plot points are or aren't in the series, then there's a good chance I either left them out or I'm changing them in a different way so that the story can fit and have an overall narrative. Another thing that I want to try to do with this series is make my characters stand out in a different way. Meaning that it's not going to be one of those situations where I combine two worlds, but everyone still acts and feels and thinks exactly the same way that you've known them to. Because if they did, then I don't feel like you've changed very much. While Deku will still have some of his qualities that still make him Deku, this is going to be a version of Deku that's a lot different. Also, I am going to be taking some liberties with the lore of My Hero Academia, since there are some things that have and haven't been confirmed. And we know with the My Hero Academia manga still continuing with the way it is now, there's no telling what new story beats or threads you'll see going forward, so that's just something to keep in mind. Also, like I said last year, with all of my new My Hero Academia stories going forward, I will recognize the limits of One for All, the plot point of those who have a quirk taking it, having a shortened lifespan. So I am going to finally acknowledge that plot point in all of my My Hero Academia stories going forward, just so that I can keep with the continuity. But I am going to be having some twists and turns that come with that as we continue. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's video. My Hero Academia Vows of Vengeance. What if Deku was a monster? Part 1. As always, sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. He remembered the day vividly. He was only 10 years old when it happened. The day that his father died. Izuku couldn't recall all of the details. He remembered that day being rather somber. Some natural disaster of some kind had struck Japan. No one was fully sure of what had happened. The heroes were just all disconjointed. There was even word that All Might have been killed, although those rumors were later debunked. However, something changed that day. And that change began with the death of Izuku's father. It was something that broke the family in a way. Izuku's mother, her bright and cheerful personality. It was as if something had died within her in that day. The man she loved. She saw him lying still on the operating table. Izuku was not privy to see such a scene, but even still, he could feel the pain on his mother's heart. A pain that tore him from inside as well. Izuku was a kind and loving boy. He was not the kind of person who ever wished death upon anyone. But seeing his mother like this, knowing that someone may have caused his mother to feel like this. It filled him with a strong sense of rage and anger. He tried to keep it bottled up inside. He didn't want to let his emotions get the best of him, even at that young of an age, but even still. It started when he tried to go back to school. Bakugo and the other children were being antagonizing as always, but Izuku, he had had enough. He grabbed one of his bullies and slammed him against the wall. The young boy's head hitting the concrete so hard that he passed out for a brief moment and had to be rushed to the hospital. It was later on that Bakugo would be told by his mother what had happened. And from there, the relationship between the two boys had changed. It wasn't that Bakugo turned his personality to a new leaf. He was still as rash, rude, and arrogant as always, but he made it a point to leave Deku alone. He made sure that no one else bothered him either, as Izuku just became recluse. Izuku tried to go back to having a cheerful and warm personality, but for some reason, he just couldn't seem to find it. There was a pain inside of him, one that he kept bottled up for all this time. He didn't feel like releasing it because he didn't think there was a point. He felt powerless. He felt weak. He wasn't sure of what to do. The details of his father's death still remained a mystery, but Izuku was smart enough to know that what had happened was no accident. As Izuku rummaged through his room, he found one thing in particular, something his father gave him just before his tragic end. It was a coin, a golden coin with a star and weird insignias written on it. Izuku kept this coin close to heart as he felt it was the memento to his father. Although what the coin was and what it meant, he had no idea. From there on, Izuku's life remained rather ordinary. He was still enamored with heroes, although not as much as before. He looked up to All Might as the symbol of peace, as a hero he would want to aspire to be in the world. But even still, he found himself becoming a bit more jaded than even he would have wanted to. Mainly because of the fact that there were some points where he couldn't agree with everything that All Might said. The idea of always having a smile on your face. Even though Izuku tried to keep his up, he knew it was fake. And yet, he didn't want to give into any other emotion. He already saw the toll that it took on his mother. Some days she were fine, and there were other days where she simply didn't come out of her room. And whenever the anniversary of the passing of his father came along, she just became recluse. That man was the love of her life. The man that helped to give her her family. And now he was gone. Izuku hated to see his mother in such a state. And that hatred, while he kept it suppressed, continued to build underneath layers and layers of indifference. However, Izuku's life would soon take a turn he argued, for the worse. It was some time after his 13th birthday. Of course, Izuku had remained quirkless, this much he was sure. But then, there was an accident. It started one night while he was walking about in the streets. A walk he normally took to clear his mind, to clear his head of all of the overwhelming anxieties. And then, he felt something. A weird sensation washing over him, one that he couldn't fully describe. As the rain began to fall all around him, Izuku found himself falling into an alleyway. His arm began to transform into something that was larger, a lot more furrier, but feral. He felt his body begin to morph and shift into something he didn't even know was possible. As he looked inside of a puddle lying on the ground, there he saw it. something that was not him, but yet he knew that it was, as he felt his hands touch his face. He had become some sort of monster, some sort of mutt, a beast, dog, wolf maybe? He wasn't entirely sure. He didn't know what he had turned into, and even more so, he had no idea how he had become this. Izuku yelled out into the sky above, his yells being muffled by the rain that fell and washed all around him. That night was the night that Izuku knew he'd never be normal, that he'd never be the same. By some miracle, he managed to turn back. However, what he had become, he had no idea. While Izuku was young, his studying of quirks had served him well. The one thing about quirks in general is that they were all based in biology. For example, if a mother were to have, say, a quirk that allowed her to float and levitate small objects, and a father who had the ability to breathe fire, it wouldn't mean that the boy would suddenly develop a frog quirk. That just wouldn't be possible. It would be the equivalent of having parents, one that had blue eyes and one that had black eyes, and then the next thing you know, you have a child that somehow gained red eyes. Unless it was a mutation in the DNA, that was something that just wasn't possible. With all of this information, Izuku was able to tell one thing. Whatever had happened to him, it was not natural. It was not based on any quirk that he might have awakened super late in his life. This was something entirely different. Whatever he wasn't even human anymore. To make matters worse, he wasn't sure of what he should do. Could he even be a hero like this, the way he was now? Or had he become something unworldly? All the same, Izuku tried to keep all of this to himself. He didn't want anyone to worry about him. He knew that if he truly desired to be a hero, then he should be able to do it on his own terms, without the need for worrying about using something that, for one, he didn't even know if it was a quirk or not, and two, something he didn't even know if he could control. Around this time, there was a new girl that would be brought to their class, a girl by the name of Claire. She was considered the beauty of the school. All the boys fawned over her greatly. Izuku recognized that she was indeed cute, although it wasn't like she dominated his mind all the time. And yet, even still, he found himself stealing glances towards her any chance he got. And if he didn't know any better, he would have believed that she exchanged glances back at him as well. Of course, Izuku chose not to pry. There was no reason for him to. He simply carried on with his life, trying his best to figure things out. Soon, though, there would come time for the end of their middle school years, and the time to enter into high school was fastly approaching. Of course, there were students who wanted to go into the hero course. That much was obvious. There were plenty of hero schools, but none more prestigious than UA High, home to an alumni of some of the world's greatest of heroes, among them being none other than the hero All Might himself. Of course, Izuku had made his plans of attending UA. Although people would often mock him for not having a quirk, he still thought that he might have had a chance. Bakugo had also made his goals of attending UA. For Bakugo and Izuku, their relationship were almost non-existent. There became sort of a mutual understanding between the two. In a sense, Izuku didn't bother with Bakugo, and Bakugo didn't bother with Izuku. In the end, what was the point? There was no reason to try to kick him while he was down. Even if Bakugo never showed his emotions on the outside, inside, he knew what it might feel like. If he had lost his father, He didn't know what he'd do or how he'd react. In the end, he just chose to leave him alone. Izuku, he didn't bother with anyone. He just stuck to himself. Before long, class would be over. Izuku found himself walking home. He decided to take the long way, as he often did. No reason to really worry about it or anything. However, his sense of smell had now been heightened, to the point where he could pick up things from miles away. He smelt fire, a strong fire. It was coming from a direction that was pretty far from anywhere near civilization, off deep into the forest. Izuku ran to see what was going on, why a fire would break out there of all places, and there he saw it. An abandoned cabin, and a fire beginning to blaze. At first, Izuku was thinking to simply call the authorities and let them handle it, but then he saw it. The figure of someone laying in the fire, not moving. Of course, under normal circumstances, a person would simply leave and allow a hero or someone else to take care of it. But Izuku, for all of his tendencies, there was one that many would consider to be the most annoying. He had a tendency to move, without his body even thinking about it. He rushed inside of the fire, transforming into his monstrous state. Moving through, he was able to push away the rubble and debris until he found the girl. It was her, Claire. Why she were here of all places, he had no idea. He picked her up quickly and brought her outside, safely away from the fire, before immediately using his phone to dial for the authorities to come. Of course, Izuku had no idea why she had been here or what was going on, although he did safely wait until the authorities arrived before slipping away deep into the heart of the forest, disappearing into the night, knowing that she was safely secure. Eventually, as the next day came along, Izuku had one worry. His phone was gone. Maybe he had dropped it while leaving from the fire. If he did, then that couldn't be good. If they found it, they might have assumed he caused the incident, even though he did no such thing. Or maybe he left it at school or lost it some other place. As Izuku arrived to class, he saw a letter on his desk. A letter telling him to go to the rooftop during lunch. The reason for the letter, he had no idea, but everything would be made clear, as when he arrived, there was a girl standing on the ledge. As she turned back and looked at Izuku, a smile creeped over her face. Claire? Izuku Midoriya, you certainly are a fascinating boy. What's going on? Why are you on the ledge? Get down from there, it's dangerous. Maybe I like danger. After all, it's not every day you get swept off your feet from a burning building now, is it? What are you talking about? I don't think we have to play games now, Izuku. Or should I say, Monster Boy? Monster Boy? What are you talking about? Izuku tried to play dumb, not wanting to have his secret revealed. So tell me, are you a masochist? A masochist? Why would you ask me something like that? Because someone with power and yet you don't use it. And you just enjoy letting those other boys whip up on you whenever they feel like. Despite having the power to easily brush them off. So I'm asking, you some type of masochist? You get off on being hurt? I'm not a masochist. And I don't know what you're talking about. Seriously, I'm quirkless. I have no powers. Is that so? Well, if that's the case, goodbye. She fell backwards off of the ledge. They were on a school that was about 4 stories. Going down head first into the concrete below would have resulted in their death. At least that's what she thought. Until instantly, she found herself resting in the arms of something warm and soft and furry as she looked up and confirmed her suspicions. I knew it. So you are a monster. How did you... You left this. She reached into her shirt, pulling out Izuku's phone. Did you have that in my bra? Yes. It's where a lot of girls keep phones and other stuff. Izuku de-transformed instantly. Can you please give me my phone back? I want answers. Tell me, why is it that you've been hiding what you truly are? Is this some type of quirk of yours, or is it something else? I mean, it's complicated. Come on, why are you doing this to me? I saved your life. Not really. I wasn't trying to be saved. But I guess I should thank you. So, thanks. For nothing. What? Were you trying to kill yourself? Why would you do that? It's complicated. Besides, it's not something you need to concern yourself with. Izuku would grab her by the arm instantly, looking her dead in her eyes. Don't speak like that. You can't just act like your life is something that can just be thrown away. What about people that care about you? I'm sure you have family. Wouldn't they be worried? What's so funny? It's not a game. It is. You said family. My family. Really? Izuku, I'm sorry. I know you don't know this, but I don't have any family. They're all dead. Izuku looked at her, stunned and concerned. This girl had no family. In her words, they had all been killed. They were all dead? How was that even possible? Claire. My family's gone, Izuku. Tragically, I am all that remains. Well, not really. There's one more person that remains. Then you have family, don't you? I don't, Izuku. I don't have family. The only person in my family that remains is someone that won't be on this earth for long. It's my brother. And he won't be here for long because he's the reason I don't have a family anymore. Wait. Your brother, That's right. My brother slaughtered my whole family. And if I get the opportunity, I'm gonna kill the son of a bitch. So Izuku, I have no family. I have no one in this life. And truthfully, the only person that's left, I want to see him wiped off the face of the earth. And then I'll truly be alone. Izuku was stunned by her words. He didn't know that she had been through so much. Her whole family taken out by her brother. As Claire turned to walk away, Izuku now having his phone, He would rush over to her and grab her by the arm. Claire turned to see the boy, tears beginning to stream from his eyes. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry that happened to you. And here I was thinking that you were a boy that never showed any emotions. And yet you can cry for little old me. I'm touched. As the two of them moved a bit closer, instantly, both of them would drop distinct objects that were very similar. For Izuku, a small hole had been torn in his shirt pocket. As for Claire, the object of hers had flown out of her skirt pocket. The two objects fell to the ground almost at the same time, lying face up. As they looked down, they both saw the items that they were holding. They were both the same gold coin with the star. As they looked up at one another, a look of shock and of unexpectation had washed over them. Where did you get that coin? I could ask you the same thing, Izuku would say. I got this coin. I got it from my grandmother. At least, that's what I've been told. I was young, so I don't really remember much about her. And you? I got it from my father. But why do we both have the exact same coin? I mean, not to be rude or anything, but I don't really know you at all. And I don't know you either. But yet we both have the same gold coin. This really is getting weird. Tell me, have you heard about the rumor? The rumor? Yeah. It's off near where that fire was. You mean the rumor about that odd vending machine near the city dump? Mm-hmm. Over near the beach. Well, the beach is kind of a dump also. But it's said that there's a vending machine there. It's running, fully operational, and yet it doesn't take any coins. None in particular. Anyone that tries to put money inside of it, it just gets spit back out. And you can't get anything from the machine. Despite it appearing to be full, the machine can't be broken, and no one seems to know what to do with it. I was wondering if maybe this coin might have something to do with it. But now that you've got the same coin, and you've got that power of yours, maybe there's more to this mystery. Why don't we go investigate together? What? You wanna? Why not? Besides, what's the worst that can happen? If our coins don't work, then it just means we just went in the wrong direction, and we should go somewhere else. Come on, aren't you just a little curious? Besides, I want to know more about you, Izuku. Well, why? Because you're fun. Now let's go. Before Izuku could protest, the two grabbed their things and left school. Of course, no one seemed to really notice or care that the two of them hadn't come back from lunch. They had never hung out before, so no one would ever think to put the two and two together. Although Bakugo paid some attention. The two kids left the school, making the long trek over near the city dump that was just lying near the shores of the beach and not too far from the mountain-tipped forest. As they made their way, it didn't become too long before eventually they found the vending machine. It was right where people said it was, between two piles of trash, with a mattress laying down in front of it, old and worn. It looked fully functional and operational, but it was in the middle of buck near nowhere. All the same, Claire and Izuku would hold up their coins. Immediately, the vending machine would begin to rattle. They had no idea what was going on until they saw a pair of legs come from out of it. And slowly, someone would come crawling out of the vending machine. Izuku and Claire would both stand back immediately, as the young man would stand in attention. Oh my coins! It's been so long since someone's brought me my coins. Oh, may I please have them? I thank you both for bringing them to me. Hold it there, mister. What exactly are you doing inside of that vending machine? Claire would say. And what do you know about these damn coins? Oh, there's a lot that has to be explained, but please, if you give me the coins, I can grant you any wish you desire. Wish? What are you, some type of genie? Genie? No. I'd say I'm more along the lines of an E.T. E.T.? You mean extraterrestrial? Izuku would ask. Bingo, young man. Extraterrestrial. Aliens? Oh, come on. What do you take us for, a couple of fools? You mean to tell me that aliens exist now? What's next? Maybe you know Santa Claus and the Tooth Fairy and the Easter Bunny. And I'm guessing you guys get together, 3 times a year for some brunch? Well, actually, now that you mention it, I haven't checked in with the old bunny in a while. Claire would immediately slap him in the back of the head. I didn't come here for games. Claire, you don't have to hit him like that. I am so sorry. No, it's fine. I've been playing around too much anyway. But I am telling the truth. I am extraterrestrial. I'm from another world. So you're an alien then? Well, I feel like alien is such a primitive term. I have a name. I'm calling you alien, if that's what you are. Alien. Claire, you don't have to say it like that. Oh, it's alright, young man. I'm perfectly fine with it. And who are you? I'm Izuku Midoriya. Nice to meet you. Izuku and Claire. Well, all the same, I'm truly grateful that the two of you brought the coins here. I've been looking for them terribly. Before we hand you over these coins, I want you to explain them. Just what the hell are they, and why are they so important to you, Mr. Alien Man? Both Claire and Izuku would listen in, as Alien would explain his origins. About 200 years ago, his planet had become too polluted with nasty toxins, and his people needed to find a new home to inhabit. Because he was being the designated navigator, his people had to leave their bodies. And instead, they took the form of coins, basically having all of their consciousness downloaded into coin form. From there, their ship flew all across space, attempting to find a home that was uninhabited to populate and make their own. You see, aliens people had a rule. They never wanted to inconvenience other people's homes or planets. They weren't the kind of aliens that were going to go around and cause a hostile takeover. Nothing along those lines. Not like how they're often portrayed in movies, which Alien had come to learn and took a lot of offense to. Not aliens with the kind of people that would just go around and blow up people's homes or try to probe people. That was just weird. However, as he landed on Earth, he found himself crashing in Japan, and the coins of all of his people ended up going in every which way and direction. Eventually, before long, he had no way of finding the coins, and he found himself stuck here. However, the people he had met here on this planet, specifically in Japan, were kind enough to give him back his coins whenever they found them. In exchange, he gave them whatever wish they wanted. However, there was one in particular that might have affected the world greatly. It started with a family that was visiting Japan. They were doing so because they had a very sick child, and they were worried that there might be complications with its birth. In the midst of doing so, they found the coin and brought it to Alien. In exchange, Alien bestowed the child with great power. The parents weren't very specific with how they want their child to be healed, and as a result, the child ended up manifesting what would become known as a quirk, and from there, other quirks would eventually mutate and find themselves bonding with the human population. Both Izuku and Claire would be absolutely stunned at these revelations, to meet the person who was essentially responsible for the origin of all quirks. Izuku found himself fanboying to the highest degree, something he hadn't been doing in a while. The idea that the person who had caused quirks to manifest into their world was now before them, it was more than he could have ever hoped and dreamed. However, Claire kept them focused on the main objective at hand the entire time, seeing as how they'd come here for knowledge about the coins and about what exactly they could do. Alien would explain that he had the ability to augment people's bodies, their biology, to change them into whatever they wanted to be. Essentially, that's all quirks were, bonding and responding to the DNA in general. Although, for Claire, why she had the coin, she had no idea. Alien would explain that many people had come to him in the past, many for good and many for bad reasons. Both Claire and Izuku would look at each other worriedly, Izuku bringing up the obvious point that Alien would just help anyone that gave him a coin, wouldn't he? No matter what their intentions were? And the alien nodded. He didn't ask why people wanted their power, or for what use. All that mattered is that if they wanted, he'd give it to them in exchange for the coin. This made Izuku a little angry. It was so irresponsible. Any madman, any villain could just ask for some ungodly level of power and they'd just be given it, all because they found a coin. If this was just allowed to go on, then there was no telling what damage could be done to the world. There were no telling how many coins were already out there that needed to be found. However, Alien would remark that he did have some good news. Besides the 2 coins that Claire and Izuku had with them, he could now count for a fact that there were only 12 more coins remaining out there. Once he found them all, he could finally leave the planet, and all the troubles that he may or may not have brought with him. Upon hearing this, Izuku thought that maybe that would be for the best. Alien wasn't a bad guy, but he was definitely misguided, and if they could safely get him the coins and get him off of this planet in a timely fashion, then I felt that could only help in the grand scheme of things. But of course, there was also the matter of what they would get with the coins they had now. Of course, they didn't have to receive any wish. They could just turn in the coins if they wanted to. And also, there were some limitations. The coin couldn't bring the dead back to life, so there was no point in asking for that, although they had a feeling that there had to be some limit to this guy's power. But even still, what would they ask for? What could they possibly want? Izuku wondered. He would then ask the alien something. About him. The power he had now, it wasn't his own. It had to have come from a coin, but he knew that he had never used one. As Alien took a closer look at Izuku, he kind of recognized him. He would recount that it was about 5 years ago, just about, that a man had approached him. He had found a coin as well. 2, in fact. He used the first one on himself, and the second one he asked to be used on behalf of his son. Izuku, now that he thought about it, was it his father? Did his father use the coins on him? That's right! A man came trying to get help for his quirkless boy. Was that you, young man? Izuku? Claire would ask. He gave me this power? I remember! He used the first coin to give you power. And the second coin, He used... Well, honestly, I don't remember what he did with it. I had asked him for it, but he said he'd hold on to it for a little bit longer because he didn't want to use it right then. I was disappointed, but even still, he promised that the coin would find its way back to me someday. I believe that coin you're holding now must be it. I think this is the day that's come, Izuku. Your father wanted you to have that coin, to give to me, to grant you a wish. So what will it be? I don't know. I didn't think he'd ever do this. But even still, Izuku. Claire would put her hand on his shoulder. Don't rush anything. Just take your time and figure it out. Yeah. You, young girl. You seem to be rather determined. I take it you already know what you want? Actually, I do. Believe it or not, I'm actually quirkless myself. Izuku would look at her stunned. You are? Mm-hmm. And if this coin can really give me power, then I know exactly what I want. I want my quirk to be manifest. But you just said you're quirkless. So, how could you... You say that these coins can transform, change biology? Well, it's said that those who are quirkless are only quirkless because they get a recessive gene in their body. A gene that basically doesn't have any quirk DNA on it. I know for a fact that my family were quirk users. I just happened to be one that didn't get it. So it must mean I have recessive genes. Can you flip my DNA? Flip my biology. Change my body so that my recessive genes are replaced by the dominant, and I can finally get my own quirk. I see. And are you sure that's what you want? I am. Claire, do you know what you're doing? Mm-hmm. I'm thankful that I found the truth. Now I might have a chance. A chance for what? For vengeance, obviously. I'm going to find my brother, and I'm going to kill him. Claire, he's your own brother. You can't really... I know, but Izuku, I don't plan on being a hero. Saving lives, being heroic, that's just not me. I only want one thing. I want revenge. I want to bring the man that destroyed my life. I want to bring him to an end. It's that simple. I'm sure you feel the same, don't you? Huh? About your dad? How he died? If he was involved in this business, I don't think he died of ordinary means. I'd have to agree with the girl. What are you talking about? Well, there are people out there. People I've been knowing for a while now. They call themselves collectors. They collect the coins to gain power, and they do it by any means necessary. I don't want to put any speculation out there, young Izuku, nor am I casting any disparage on anyone, but there might be a possibility your father was being hunted by a collector, and most likely that might have been the reason as to why he was killed. The news hit Izuku very hard. The idea that his father had been killed by these collectors. People only in search of their own power. Izuku could feel it bubbling to the surface. These collectors, where do I find them? I wouldn't know where to tell you. They're out there, all over Japan. Who knows what they're doing or where they are? All I know is that they band in groups, and they're definitely not the type of people you want to mess with. I don't care. If they truly are the ones responsible, then I want to find them. I see. So what will you do with your coin then? Izuku thought about it for a moment. He could have anything he wanted. Could he add to his power and have more power? Could he ask for something far greater than he ever imagined? But then he also thought of his father. I don't really know everything that's going on here, but I know what I want. I'm going to keep this power that my father gave me. I don't know why he gave it to me, but I'm going to figure it out. But I also want another power. I want my father's quirk. I see. Your father's quirk. And what was it? Fire breathing. Ah, the ability to spew flame. I can make that arrangement. Are you both sure it's what you want? The two would nod in agreement as they handed over their coins. Alien took them happily, and after doing so, he would put them into the machine, and at that moment, 2 drinks would come out. All you have to do is drink this, and you'll have what you desire. The 2 nodded as they left him. They didn't drink immediately. After all, they weren't entirely sure if everything that happened was legit. They could very well be drinking poison, and this could be the end of them. At the same time, it was around the holiday of New Year's. Everyone was gathering together, people enjoying time with their families, and so on and so forth. For the celebration, Izuku invited Claire to spend time with him and his mother. Izuku's mother, Inko, happy to have some new company, and was more than willing to tease her son about bringing a girl over. After a while, the two would make their visit to the shrines, where they would offer their New Year's prayers as they watched the fireworks display. As they sat, sitting on a park bench alone, watching as the fireworks went off in the sky, the two had brought their drinks with them, unsure of what was going to happen. They had decided that they would drink together. It was here that a vow would be made. If they survived this, then they promised they'd stick together. They'd uncover the truth, and vengeance, it would be theirs. This was something that they would see through till the end. Either they would accomplish everything that they sought out to do, or if it really did come to an end for them, then at least they'd do it together. In this short time, they had developed a strong sense of trust. They weren't sure of what life had for them, what could be waiting on the other side, but they knew that once they crossed this threshold, there was no going back. The two would then immediately drink what they had been given. And at first, nothing happened. That was until Izuku burped and flame came out soon after. He had gotten his wish. He now had the quirk of his father within him. But then there was Claire. She had no idea what her quirk was. All she asked was for what was ever inside of her to be made manifest, but she had no idea what that could be. At the same time, a talisman would go flying over to them. It had flown off of one of the temple shrines and was now being carried by the wind. The talisman had the word ice written on it. Claire would grab it from out of the air. As she held the talisman, she would see the word ice, and immediately her mind would think about ice. And at that very moment, the talisman would glow. It would begin to manifest, and the next thing Claire knew, she created a large block of ice, immediately dropping it to the ground. The talisman, after it had seemingly been awakened somehow, would immediately dissolve and fly away like ashes to the wind. Claire, how did you do that? I don't know. Wait, Izuku, I want to try something. Immediately, they would head over to one of the stands near the temple. Claire would ask for a few blank talismen, along with some ink. Together, they would go somewhere far enough away. First, she drew the word fire on the talisman. She picked it up and thought about fire. And immediately, the talisman would disperse into a flame of fire that she could hold in her hand before she threw it into the air and it blew up. Claire, your quirk. You can manifest talismans. Manifest? Is manifest my quirk? I think so. I think that whenever you write on a talisman, whatever is written on it, you can manifest it into existence. No way. This is cool. This is definitely the kind of power I can use. Izuku, we can do this. Izuku looked at Claire. He saw the smile on her face. A girl who thought that she had no chance. Finally, destiny had shined upon her. Her opportunity had finally arrived. For Izuku, he wasn't sure what road he was walking down. Vengeance, that wasn't the way of the hero. But in all honesty, maybe being a hero wasn't for him. Maybe it was just a means to an end. But no matter what their future held, no matter what destiny lay before them, in uncertainty, they would walk through it together. This concludes My Hero Academia, Vows of Vengeance. What if Deku was a monster? Part 1. As always, if you enjoyed today's video and everything else that we have to offer, then please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, share, and hit that bell for post notifications so you can stay up to date on everything that is PowerCore Productions and Podcastings that has to come out now and in the future. Stay tuned for tomorrow's video as we begin Anime X Marvel Phase 2, The Defender Saga, with our first story, Black Lagoon, Dead City. What if Revi was the Punisher? But anyway, that's going to do it for the end of today's video. I'm Javon Harrington with PowerCore Productions and Podcastings. Signing off, and I'll see you next time.